Allan, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me.
Pleasure.
I want to start by asking you, what is it about your daily work at Boehringer Ingelheim that really motivates you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a number of points. One is I'm a firm believer in the pharmaceutical industry and the value it does to patients and societies. And sometimes in the grind of the day-to-day work, it's easy to not always concentrate on that. But I think that's a motivator for me and for lots of other people. So that's one point. I am a competitive person, so I enjoy business. I enjoy the business side of it as well, and managing the people and seeing the people working together and see the products coming. That's highly satisfying as well. So there's multiple factors that motivate me through a day.
Okay. What do you believe is the biggest opportunity that you as a business face at the moment?
The biggest opportunity for Boehringer Ingelheim, I think, is launching our new product. So the portfolio for Boehringer Ingelheim, the pipeline, is very, very strong. So we have new products coming in various therapeutic areas. We've just started in oncology, we're building in diabetes, and of course respiratory and cardiovascular continue, just to name a few. So the big opportunity is bringing those products to patients and continuing to build the strength of the company through that. And not only the strength of the company, but through giving benefit to patients and benefit to payers and to payers and governments around the world, the benefits of those products to society. So I think that's the biggest opportunity. Mm-hmm. And we're fortunate at Boehringer to have that extensive pipeline. And if you look at the plans for the next few years, they're packed full of launches, which is a very nice situation to be in. So that's the biggest opportunity.
Let's just imagine it might be difficult that none of those launches were forthcoming,
yes.
And instead your opportunities had to be on a more strategic basis as opposed to a product basis.
Yeah.
Where in that frame of reference do you think that you would spy your greatest opportunity?
I think there's a few things. If you look at the emerging markets, there's a huge opportunity there. Mm-hmm. So you've got literally billions of people who are not getting healthcare at the level they are in the more advanced markets. So I think that's exciting and a huge opportunity, and it's not only Boehringer Ingelheim but the whole industry, I think, that sees the opportunity to add value in those emerging markets. I think that's one topic. An opportunity for the industry also is to, I think, get closer to our customers, to really understand the need of the broader customer group. And if we went back a few years, the customers were more, the physicians and the pharmacists, etc., and now it's a much broader customer group, to payers, to politicians, patients, obviously through social media, etc., have a huge interaction, not only with the industry, but with each other. So that whole customer group has expanded a lot. So I think interacting with and understanding those customers is certainly an opportunity. Our products still have lots of potential. The ones already launched, lots of potential to give benefit to patients as well. Mm-hmm. And as I said, emerging markets is a huge opportunity, both from a health giving point of view as well as from a business aspect. So that's some of the opportunities, I think.
Mm. I talk to a lot of companies, and every company is trying to get close to the customer. Every company is trying to consider the patient at the centre of their strategy, which is all obviously great news. You, obviously, as a company, have to differentiate yourselves. Is that differentiation coming entirely through the product, or do you feel that there are things that you can be doing in terms of your relationship with the stakeholders across healthcare that actually put you in the driving seat?
We're doing a lot around that at the moment, and digital media is one area of focus where at least we're one of the leaders in that area. And we're using Twitter, we're using Facebook, we're using a lot of other mediums to do that and having more and more interaction there. But you're right, we're not on our own wanting to get closer to the customer. It's a continual challenge for the organisation as well. What does closer to the customer mean? Because many companies, as you said, have that in their vision, in their light build, to service the customer and get closer to the customer. I think part of it is getting beyond the basic market research as well, to really understand what motivates the various customer groups, what drives them, and how we can find a win-win situation. And that's what it needs to be, for sure, a benefit to the customer and a benefit to us. So the balance of the two, without that it cannot work. It may be in the short term, but in the medium and long term it has to be of benefit to both. And I think that's the challenge, is to find that benefit.
So getting close to the customer, getting beyond market research, what does that really mean in terms of practicalities? What can you actually do to make that happen?
Well, we're doing a lot around, in one area, key account management, and really not just focusing on, but identifying that broader group of customers, and then having a more focused approach on dealing with the various stakeholders. So that's one point. We're also working a lot harder to bring the different parts of the company together. So from the pharmaceutical side, of course, you've got the medical side and market access and marketing and sales, etc. And so bringing them together so that they've got a common view, not exactly the same objectives, but a common view, and they're focusing on the customer together, is not always easy in a huge organisation, but we're putting a lot of effort into that as well. So having plans that consider also from early research through to late stage. So if you talk about the customer as the payer as a customer, making sure that when we're in phase 2 and particularly phase 3, that the way those trials are structured, the endpoint in the trials, etc., is not only safety and efficacy to get the product registered, but also really proving the economic value. So that's quite important as well. So it varies for the different customers, but working together, getting closer, having an open dialogue, looking for win-wins are some of the things that we're doing.
So you're responsible for sales and marketing in the company.
Right.
You've just mentioned the payer. Do you see a lot more crossover with your sales and marketing teams and market access teams and even clinical teams going forward?
Yes, not only see that, but that's happening a lot already. So we've incorporated market access even more strongly into the decision bodies that are looking at how we develop products, and earlier in the development as well. So that's important, and I think it's crucial to not only have the product that's safe and efficacious, but prove the value to society. Because as resources become, at least in some countries, scarcer and scarcer, clearly Europe is, in some countries at least, in a somewhat of a financial squeeze, and of course there's not unlimited resources in any country. So I think that proving value becomes more and more important, and that's the comparators in trials, it's hard endpoints in trials, etc., so that it's not just the safety and the efficacy for your own product and compared to other products, but also the economic value that it's adding. So that's more and more, we're focusing on that more and more.
Now, Boehringer is, to the public, or certainly to the industry, it's seen, I believe, as quite innovative, particularly when it comes to some of the work in the digital area that you mentioned a second ago, and also on the patient level, certainly at a local level or a national level. Would you say that, compared to other companies, that you have a good culture of innovation, and what do you actually do to try and improve that?
So first of all, you need good people to have innovation. I think the people are the core of innovation, and we have some very good and creative people, innovative people working in that area. With the innovation, you need to allow people a little bit of space as well, and particularly in these expanding areas like digital interface, like looking at a broader promotional model, etc. We give people resources and give them some space to move in those areas. And encouraging it from a top and from a senior management level goes quite some way as well. The teams are clearly excited and motivated to do more in that area. So giving them recognition, giving them some space, and giving them positive feedback, and feedback from sites such as yours and others that have awards and encourage that innovation, I think is really positive as well.
I was speaking with Jane Griffiths last month at the eyeforpharma Barcelona conference. She spoke about how the industry absolutely has to repair its levels of trust with the public, particularly given some of the recent news, but it's essential in order to actually fulfill some of Janssen's core objectives. Would you say that her attempt is to put a more human face onto pharma? She actually devised that as a specific strategy for her company. Is that something that you've tried to do at all to try and humanize what most people see as a very faceless industry?
Yes, the image of the pharmaceutical industry as an industry isn't outstanding, and that's the challenge, because if you talk to individuals about medicines, most people through a parent or a grandparent or a relation, a friend or whatever, have a lot of positive experiences around medicine and around the benefits it's given. But when it comes to an industry level, then let's say we could rebuild that trust and confidence, and I think we need to. So part of that is getting closer to the customer as well. When you talk to people and you really explain, not only on an economic level, but on an individual level, what the industry is doing and what the company is doing in the case of Boehringer, then I think it makes quite a difference. And to move beyond that sort of faceless corporation into the individuals, as was stated, is something takes a lot of time, of course, takes a lot of effort. But when you do that, you get a very positive reaction. So we're doing that quite a lot as well. Are we there yet? As a company, no. As an industry, no. And I think we have to keep being open and transparent and behaving in a way that builds that trust as well. So some of it comes back to the industry.
I want to stay on this point a little longer, if I may. You talked about a lot of the effort going in at a local level, but you also said that that's where the reputation is strongest, because obviously people benefit directly from the medicines.
Yes.
So is there anything on a national, international level which we can do to actually make this industry seem more accessible and more positive?
One thing we're doing at the moment, and I'm quite involved in the FPR initiatives around data transparency, and we have a group of senior managers there looking at communications, looking at the health and growth that comes from the industry, but also looking at the transparency topic. So I think points like that, where we're not only transparent in our data, but shown and really communicate that transparency, I think that's important. So it's not just on a local level. I think on a big picture level, whether it's data transparency, whether it's being transparent on our actions, on our clinical trials, etc. I think that all builds big picture trust as well. So it's a combination, as is always the case, of the local and the sort of micro level, but also on a big picture level. And through Pharma and through FPR and through many other associations, there's a lot of work going on there as well.
Transparency you've just raised. In the last month we've had a couple of issues, particularly around the Tamiflu, Roche and GSK as well. All of that good effort you might be making with FPR, it's unfortunate, but bad news sells newspapers, and so it can bring us down quite a lot as an industry. What's your reaction to some of the news that's coming out, and how can Pharma counteract the actions of a few destroying the reputation of the many?
So I won't accept the premise in your introduction, but for sure a few cases have got a lot of publicity recently. And I think it falls on all of us, not just as companies, but as individuals, to make sure we're transparent in everything that we do. In today's world of total transparency on most things, we need to be, as we always aim to be, but to be totally transparent and really to continue to do the right thing. So as an industry, we're judged on the whole industry, and of course some cases get more publicity than others. That's the case in the industry. It tends to be that, as you say, bad news sells newspapers and now sells media generally, and good news is not always real news, and I think that's part of the battle, is to get out the real news and the good news topics as well. But it falls to the whole industry to continue to be transparent, to continue to operate in a way that you're very comfortable seeing on the front page of the New York Times or the Times in the UK or Sydney Morning Herald in Australia or wherever it is. So I think that falls to all of us.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the initiative with FPR, and you mentioned that it falls to all of us. That's very true. When one company, though, makes a mistake, it, as you say, affects everybody. So is there any differentiation as a corporate level that you could provide for, say, Boehringer, that hasn't necessarily been involved in these same controversies? Is there any differentiation that you can apply there, or do you very much have to work as an entire industry through this?
We do both. So we certainly work heavily with FPR and with Pharma and the other associations to be part of the initiatives that are happening there. We also have our own initiatives on transparency. That's been one of our topics for quite some time. And we're continually looking and making sure that we're working together or in alignment with the codes in the individual countries. So I think it's both an industry topic and a company topic. Boehringer sets itself high standards the fact that we've done that for a long time is crucial, but we have to keep doing that as well, and we will keep focusing on that. As we do that, we hope that shows out in the market and is appreciated out in the market as well.
So, final question: do you feel that the pharmaceutical industry, and certainly your company, should become a healthcare provider in the longer term?
It's a good question. Now most of the value to the pharma industry comes from the IP of the product, so it comes from the value from those IP of the products. We're looking at broader topics as well. We call it beyond the pill, but many other companies have different names for it. I think in the medium term, then other activities, whether it's services or whatever it is, will add value around the product and help differentiate the product. I think in the medium term, then probably the value will continue to come from pharmaceuticals. And then in the longer term, however you define longer term in the pharma industry, then I think the question of more general services, etc., will come. We're considering that, but not going heavily into that area at the moment. But for sure, services and ways of adding value and differentiation of the product will become more important over time. I think at least in the medium term, the IP contained within a molecule will continue to add the majority of the value to the economic model, but not all of it, and that's probably what's changing. And I guess like most change, it takes longer to come than you think it will, and then when it comes, it usually comes quicker than you expect. So we have an eye on that as well.
Thanks very much for talking to me today.
No, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good to chat. Thanks.